Your boys, Rick Kamla and Josh Chevalier, are back right here on the College Football Prop Show on Fantasy Points. Josh Chevalier, a.k.a. JC, what's going on, my friend? We're heading into Week 7. We're now in the second half of the college football regular season. How you doing, my friend? I
think
cannot.
I'm muted. There we go.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay, right on. What's up, bro? Again, we have a signal difficulty, I believe, here with Josh. And so, guys, it's the prop show with Cam and Josh here on Fantasy Points. And we had a winning week last week. We got back in the winner's circle. It wasn't a banner week. I mean, but we went 8-6. Our overall record on the year is 40-19, which is 68%. And Josh, looks like we have you back here. We got the signal figured out. We're coming off a winning week, which was coming off of a non-winning week, which was rare for us. We've been cooking so far, but felt good to get back in the winner's circle last week.
Yeah, man, it was a good week. It was fun, like you said, to get back in the winner's circle. I'm excited to do it this week again. And man, we got some good props here, and I'm ready to get it going.
So let's dive in, man. Start us off, Josh, here with Shedeur Sanders, the Colorado QB. It's a Friday night joint, 10 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN, Pac-12 After Dark, all that. They're hosting Stanford, 351.5, a bulbous passing yard number for Shedeur Sanders. You going under or over on this one?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me, because we know that he can definitely hit this, right? Like Shedeur has done it before this season. And Stanford has given up this many before, 351. They gave 355 to Braden Shager in their first week of the season. But they also held Caleb and Bo to under 300 passing yards. They held Jane DeLore at 157. So I'm going to go with the under here. And I do think it's a little bit risky. This isn't like going to be my first bet that I'm going to be throwing out there. Like it's not going to be my core piece. But I do think, kind of like what we've said before, when you're talking about 350 and above, you're talking about a lot of elements are going to have to go right to get there. So I'm going under.
I love that last point you made, especially. This is a big number, guys, and everything's got to go well. He can't have a drop 30-yard pass that'd probably take him under. You can't have game script get out of hand where Colorado just smashes Stanford and, maybe a backup QB comes in, but maybe they run the ball more. You can't have that kind of stuff. You've got to have it just right here, and the matchup isn't right for Shedeur Sanders to pop all the way over 351.5. Josh, I am under on this as well. Shedeur does go big in home games, okay? 393 against Nebraska, 348 Colorado State, 371 against USC. But all three of those games were very competitive. The Nebraska game in the second half, it became a runaway, but in the first half, in the third quarter, it was a very competitive football game. Colorado might actually be a running clock in the fourth quarter of this one. Josh, it is one of my releases here on Fantasy Points College Football. I do like Colorado minus the points in this game. I do think they're going to cover on a short week for Stanford. So I don't think this is going to be a real competitive game. I don't think Shedeur is going to be forced to dig deep in his bag of tricks to beat Stanford here and go all the way over 351.5. You mentioned it. The Stanford pass defense is dreadful. They're giving up 306 per game through the air and 69% completion rate. Look, Shedeur's going to play well. We might have 320 and 4 scores, right? 351.5 with the setup here against Stanford. I ain't doing it, and neither is Josh Chevalier. We're the prop show on Fantasy Points. Let's move on to Michael Penix Jr. Huge game. It is Washington hosting Oregon, 359.5, another huge number for us, Josh. You going up or down on this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is another one that I'm going to go under. And a lot of this has to do, I mean, we know, right, that Penix can get there. This is the type of game where he's going to have to go all out. But I would say, like, Oregon's pass defense has been crazy, only allowing 169.5 yards per game. And you're talking about a team that's played Shedeur Sanders, right? They held him to 159. They played Braden Shager, who we just talked about. He went 355 against Stanford, only hits 131 against Oregon. And then Tyler Shuck, right, who's now injured, but the season high against Oregon was Tyler Shuck. And that was 282 yards. So you're talking about our boy Penix has to make up 80 yards there. And so I'm just going to trust that this Oregon defense is good enough to make the game tough for Michael Penix and that this is going to be an under here.
I like all your reasons. I'll just add this, and I'm also on the under on this one. Sorry to be killjoys, guys, but everybody's happy if we win, whether we're going over or under. But Oregon's defense has done well against the two best QBs they faced this year. And, when two great college football teams collide, defenses played, and it's highly competitive, and it becomes harder to do your job in a game like this, especially, if you're the quarterback. I mean, look, I think Bo Nix is going to have a good game. I think Michael Penix is going to have a good game. Both did in this matchup last year. But are they going to tilt the machine and just savagely go off? I don't see it. Penix had 408 last year. That was a game. It was at Oregon, and it was a win for Washington, and now they're back home. I just don't see it. I would play under on this huge number. Now, let me hit you, Josh, with Carson Beck of Georgia. He's rolling, and this is where we slam on the brakes. He's at Vandy this week. We got a 290.5 passing yard prop. I am under on this number, Josh. He's been well over 300 now for 3 straight games, 338, 313, 389. And so to me, that trend makes it a little bit too easy. Of course, he's 300 yards again against Vandy. Vandy sucks, right? It's too easy for me. Beck comes off. He comes off of a career high game, 389, with 4 scores, right? Both career highs. So obviously we talk about it every week. The career year, the career game, right? I fade guys coming off of that, so we have that. Game script. I think UGA, Josh, is going to destroy Vanderbilt, and we're probably going to have Vandergriff in the fourth quarter of this game. So I don't think Beck is going to be required to finish this football game. And we'll talk about Dejon Edwards later on in the show because I do have a vibe on him. I just don't think Carson Beck's going to have to do all of this work. You know what I'm saying? I think he's going to be handing off the rock a lot to Milton and Edwards and those guys. So where are you at here, Josh, with Carson Beck at Vandy 290.5?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think this number is just too high. I mean, they're going to blow him out. And by the time they're not going to have to throw for 290. I mean, that's basically like Michael Penix throwing for 400 in a game. And, as far as the game script and things like that. So I'm definitely going under. Loved your reasoning. And I think we can move on to the next one for sure.
So in the next one here, Josh, let's see if you're on board with this one. Talia Tungavailoa at home against Illinois, 254.5 passing yards. I'm over on this number. He is coming off of a down game, and that's another one of my favorite angles here. I fade dudes coming off the career high game, and I like to go with guys in the right spot in a game where they're coming off of kind of a dud game, right? There's just motivation. You want to get back out there. You want to play better. It's human nature. Threw for 196 last week at Ohio State. Okay, cool. Arguably the toughest matchup of the year. I think we all saw that coming. In the previous 5 games, he was over this number 4 times. So he's living over this number. Illinois' defense, Josh, and Josh, you know this, they're not even close to what they were last year with Devon Witherspoon and all these other guys, and Sidney Brown, and sent a lot of big-time defensive players to the NFL. They this year are giving up 225 per game through the air, which is good, not great. They're giving up 401 total yards per game, 29 points per game. This is not a typical Illinois defense here. So I think Talia is going to shred the Illini in a homie here, over 254.5. Where are you at with Talia?
Yeah, I'm going to join you on the over on this one. I mean, I think this is one where, like you said, 4 to 5 games. I mean, Illinois is not the defense that they were before. They've gone over this number against a lesser quarterback. And so, yeah, I like everything you said. I think the over here is great.
So, Josh, it's Rick Kamla. It's Josh Chevalier. We're the prop show on college, on Fantasy Points college football. So let's go, before we move on to running backs, let's talk about Bo Nix. And somebody in our Discord chat wanted us to talk about this, so let's honor that. We got Bo Nix rushing yards at 19.5 at Washington. Josh, you going over or under on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go over. I mean, we saw Taylor Green hit 31 yards earlier in the year, And this is a defense. This is a game where Bo Nix is going to have to go all out, right? Whether it's throwing the ball, running the ball, he's going to have to give everything he's got. And so I'm going to over here for Bo Nix. I mean, he's a guy that's more than capable of hitting this prop. It's 19 yards. I don't see the Washington Huskies getting to him a ton. And so I think he's going to hit the over here.
So the most competitive game this year. Well, let me phrase it this way, because I'll go over on this number as well. Now, some of the numbers don't bode well for that. Okay, he's over this number once in 5 games. All right, but that does make him due to go over this number. I would say he's obviously a very good running quarterback, but in their other competitive road game, it was that at Texas Tech game, and he ran for 46 yards. I don't think that's a coincidence. We're on the road. We've got adversity. We're in a nip and tuck game, and I got to run and I got to do everything to get my team in the winner's circle, and they won that game. All right. The game at Stanford, obviously, everything was 42-6. He ran 3 times for 18 yards. He doesn't have to run. He can stand in a clean pocket, slice and dice, chill in the fourth quarter, and it's that kind of game. This ain't going to be that kind of game. He's going to be required to improvise, Josh. And when there's pass rush and when plays are broken, he's going to have to improvise and make stuff happen on the road at Washington. So I do like the over here at 19.5. We are like-minded on that. So let's shift to the running back position here, Josh. And let's talk about Audric Estime, the Notre Dame back at home against USC. We got 96.5 rushing yards. You over or under on Audric?
Hey, Rick, sorry, I missed what you said there.
So, okay, sorry about that, guys. We're having some technical difficulties here. So, Josh, we got Estime at home against USC, 96.5. You going over or under with Audric Estime?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Yeah, so, I have Estime, on the under here. And, he's gone under this number the last 3 weeks, right? 70, 81, and then 20 yards. And so I think, I think this is one where USC is definitely susceptible against the run. But I just kind of wonder whether, Estime has an injury going on. But also Jeremiah Love has really come on as of late. And I just wonder if they're going to give him more and more carries, and that's not going to eat into Asime's production here. And so, although he's been unbelievable over the first 3 weeks of the year, he struggled over the last 3, and I think that carries over into this game.
Okay, so we don't have very many like straight up disagreements. We'll have an over under or stay away. A lot of times we see each other's points here and rock with it. I'm actually over on Audric Estime this week. So here's the thing about Love. Last week, the carry split was 10-5 in favor of Estime, which speaks to obviously still a lead back situation for him. Now, this week, they could have different ideas and Love could shoot up and he could be the guy. I mean, who knows, right? But this is just how I evaluate it. And I think that the last 3 weeks of duditude for Audric Estime can be contextualized in terms of the defenses they've been playing. Ohio State, Duke, and Louisville, 3 really good defenses. And obviously he shredded the bad defenses at the beginning of the year. Well, he's welcoming a bad defense to South Bend here with USC. They give up 157 rushing yards a game, 4.2 yards per carry. So and also I think Notre Dame, the Sam Hartman thing ain't working, man. The more you rely on him, the more he's going to let you down. So I think they're going to try to also keep Caleb Williams off the field, run the ball, run clock, all that kind of stuff. Try to at least. So I'm over on Audric Estime. So for all you guys out there, maybe it's just to stay away if your boys Josh and Cam are not agreeing on it. So we're obviously having some issues here with Josh. So I'll continue on with some of these, man. And Josh, if we can get you back, just pop on in here, man. Marshawn Lloyd of Notre Dame, of USC. This game is at Notre Dame, of course, 72.5 rushing yards. Josh is over on this one, and so am I. I like Marshawn Lloyd here over. I don't trust Notre Dame's defense. They're giving up 133 rushing yards per game. Notre Dame has been overrated a lot by me, okay, and others, but by me. I'll raise my hand. I've been overrating Notre Dame, okay. They do not have a shutdown front seven. Marshawn Lloyd should eat, and he's been over every game this year. So I see that carrying over. I don't think Notre Dame has this vaunted defense that we should be afraid of. Josh agrees on that. He's over on Marshawn Lloyd as well. Let's move on to Jawar Jordan, the Louisville phenom. He will be going here at Pitt, 91.5 rushing yards. Josh is over on this one. I'm over on this one as well. Sometimes you got to ride the hot hand. And he's 100 or more yards in 4 of the last 5 games. Arguably the hottest running back in all of college football. I love the carries he's getting. Clearly the bell cow of this offense. And they're feeding him the rock because he's a home run waiting to happen. His carries have gone 18, 18, 16, and 21. He's averaging 7.5 yards per carry on the season. I know, it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, a nutty college line will be 6.3, 6. He's at 7.5 yards per carry, and he's gotten a ton of carries. He's in the conversation for best back in the nation. Pittsburgh is 1-4. They're dreadful this year. I do not look at them as a threat against 6-0 Louisville. I mean, they might get a backdoor cover or something like that. I don't see them winning this game, and I think Louisville's going to have their way with Pitt. And Josh agrees on this one. He is over on Jawar Jordan at 91.5 as well. It's Rick Kamla and Josh Chevalier by proxy here. As we move on here, some technical difficulties have knocked Josh off. Hopefully we can get him back on here. It is the Prop Show with Cam and Josh here on Fantasy Points. Blake Corum. I like the under on Blake Corum this week. He's at home against Indiana, and it's 95.5 rushing yards. And, obviously you're starting him in college football fantasy. He's going to have, a nice game for you. But is he going to have a big game? I don't think so. And here's why. I'm under on this number, which is ironic. It's Blake Corum. He's been under this number in 4 of 6 games this year. Game script, I think, is heavily in the under's favor here. Michigan is going to take apart the Indiana Hoosiers. Oh, by the way, they suck right now. To me, this game is going to be over by halftime, okay? And so load management, which we despise and disdain in the NBA, has hit college football with Jim Harbaugh and Blake Corum. He has 1 game with 20-plus carries this year. 1. Last week against Minnesota, 9 carries, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Why? Because they smashed Minnesota and not more was required. And he's at 13.8 carries per game for Blake Corum, one of the best backs in the nation. You would think he'd be at 18, 19, 20 carries per game. No, they haven't needed him. And they're kind of sort of putting him in bubble wrap, probably saving him for the Penn States and the Ohio States and the Big Ten championship game. And they think the college football playoff, and they'll maybe build him and expand his role as the season goes on. But they're in preserve Blake Corum mode right now, and that's not going to bode well. This is going to be an opportunity to once again put Blake Corum in bubble wrap after 77 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half, and they'll shut him down, and he won't make the 95.5. Under on Blake Corum. Now, let's talk about Dejon Edwards of Georgia at Vanderbilt. 75.5 is his rushing yard prop. Josh, do we have you back?
Am I here? Can you hear me?
I hear you. I see you, man. Are you back with us? What's going on, brother?
Dude, I'm having major technical issues here. I don't know what's going on with my internet.
Because you can't hear me, right? It's all blur, 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 blur kind of thing. Man. So can you give us sing us a song on Dejon Edwards, or is this just not going to work?
I can try. I mean, it's working right now. So,
let's go.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on Dejon?
So I like the over on Dejon. We've got and like we talked about with Carson Beck, like I'm fading him this week, right? And so I think the pendulum is going to go from passing last week, and they were able to run as well. They did everything they wanted against Kentucky, but it was a big time passing performance from Carson Beck. I think the pendulum's going to swing back towards Kirby Smart, ground and pound, we're on the road, it's Vandy, let's just get out of here, nobody gets hurt. So I think the running game is going to take center stage. There's a major blowout loading here. Major, okay? 35, 38, I don't know. Again, one of those spreads is tough to cover, but they're going to smash Vandy. Vanderbilt is giving up 157 rushing yards per game, 4.6 yards per carry, which is dreadful. Edwards was the clear bell cow heading into last week, and it was such a blowout that Kirby saved him. Kind of like I was just talking about with Blake Corum, your top back. We got a route. All right, let's put him in bubble wrap and let some other guys get some work. So, and look, I don't think Dejan is going to go for 210 yards and 3 touchdowns. I don't see a massive game here. I see enough to get us over 75.5, maybe 96 yards, couple of touchdowns in the first half, and then he doesn't even play in the second half. But I got Edwards over 75.5. Josh, how about you?
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm on the over on Dejan for sure. I mean, I think this is a guy, like you said. I mean, he's been right around that number the last few weeks. You know, they had to sit him early in this one, but I mean, I think he's going to hit it, right? I think all your logic is really sound here. I think Montrell Johnson a few weeks ago, he went off on Vanderbilt, and so this is definitely a team that's susceptible against the run. Like you said, they're going to want to establish that. Him and Brock Bowers, I think, are the two best guys on this offense right now. And so I think we ride with Edwards and go with the over for sure. I like that.
I love it, man. That is Josh Chevalier. I'm Rick Kamla. We're the prop show on Fantasy Points. And let's move on to wide receivers and tight ends, Josh. We are giving you prop after prop after prop. And you know, we'd like to think there's a lot of winners in here. But we got Rock Taylor, Memphis wide receiver, at home against Tulane. 52.5, Josh. Sell me and the people on Rock Taylor.
Yeah, so Rock Taylor, man. Okay, so like you said, 52.5, Tulane. This guy, man, he's gone 79.8 yards per game through the air, right? He's at 4 or 5 on the over on this number. Tulane has allowed 7 FBS wide receivers to go over 52.5 yards in 4 games. So I think this is pretty safe. I mean, he's a pretty clear wide receiver 1 for Memphis. And so I think, I think this number at 52.5 is pretty reasonable. And this is a team that's going to want to throw the ball and get the ball into Rock Taylor's hands. So I like this, man. I like this. I'm pretty confident in this as an over.
It should be a really high scoring, entertaining game. Memphis and Tulane, both of these teams can giddy up and go. Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. This is a Friday night joint. Yeah, it's a Friday home game for Memphis. So it's a short week for Tulane. That always kind of benefits the home team, at least in my evaluations going in. It doesn't always play out that way, but it usually does. But I like the Rock Taylor's clearly the number 1 wide receiver from Memphis. He's a plus 12 in grabs over the next guy and a plus 150 in yards over the next closest guy. So I co-sign this one, Josh. I like Rock Taylor over, and it's a pretty scant number here, 52.5. All right, Cade Stover, Ohio State tight end, at home against Purdue. We got 39.5 receiving yards, Josh. Over or under on Cade Stover?
Man, I'm over, and this is maybe my favorite one of the entire slate. I mean, one, we saw Mecca Buka go out with injury last game, right? And so he's potentially out for this game, or at least injured. You have Cade Stover's averaging 76.5 yards per game. His lowest output this year is 52 yards, other than the Youngstown Sound State game where he didn't even really play. Purdue's allowed 3 tight ends to go over this number. And so, including a Virginia Tech tight end that I haven't even heard of. And so, I feel like Cade Stover is one of the easiest slam dunks as far as overs on this slate.
So I'm with you. I'm over on Cade Stover. We've hit an over on him before, last week before. I don't know. We've been down this road before and it was successful for us. So let's go down again. And look, you brought up a bunch of great points. I'll just say this. He has become an awesome safety valve for Kyle McCord over the middle. Seam routes, little duck ins, I've looked right. I've Harrison covered, Buka covered. All right, I'm back over the middle. I got a little dump off here to Cade Stover, and Stover has shown some yak daddy. He can make some plays with his feet after he makes the catch. He's not Kelsey around here, but he's pretty athletic, and he's growing on me from an NFL scouting perspective. So 39.5 is an over here for Cade Stover. Let's go to LSU at home against Auburn, and a tricky point spread. It's like 11.5 or something. I want to bang LSU, but I've watched LSU this year, and they've been so disappointing, especially on the defensive side, Josh. Like, I just can't back them right now. But Brian Thomas, wide receiver, 69.5. Josh, I'm over here, man. He's been over in 4 of 6 games this year. Beck just threw for 313 against Auburn, who now Jaden Daniels will be going up against. And I think Jaden Daniels is going to have a big game here against Auburn. And if he has a big game, Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors are going to have a big game as well. So where are you at here with Brian Thomas at 69.5, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I have to go over here. I mean, he's one of the best values every week on DraftKings. I mean, DraftKings, yes, but also on Prize Picks. I mean, what was his number last week? Like 85, and that was like one of the higher ones for him. I mean, it's pretty high, but it's come back down to a level that I feel completely comfortable going after. I feel a lot more comfortable with Brian Thomas at this number than Malik Neighbors at 104.5 or whatever he is right now.
Great point. Great point. That's a big old number, man. It really is. You gotta. It's just that's a tough number in college, man. And Neighbors is a stud, and it's just tough. This number is more manageable, and Thomas pretty much just as involved as Malik Neighbors. Now we got J.P. Richardson, wide receiver for TCU, playing BYU this week, Josh, and we got 27.5 receiving yards for J.P. Richardson. Man, you over or under on this one?
Yeah, so this number is so low, and J.P. Richardson's he's a top wide receiver for TCU. Now they spread the ball out quite a bit, but he's gone over this number 4 or 6 times this year, and when he goes over, he goes quite a bit over, right? And I think he had like a 24-yard game and maybe a 20-yard game or something like that earlier this year. I will say Chandler Morris went out last game, and then Hoover came in, and I guess you just never know. I will say this is deep cut right here, but Hoover did have a nice long pass to J.P. Richardson in the spring game. Now, I don't know if that really means much now, but at least, you always wonder about chemistry when a new quarterback comes in and who he's going to favor. And so I don't know what that really tells us, other than at least Hoover has had some connection at some point in some type of game setting with J.P. Richardson. So I'm not flying completely blind, but you just never know, right? And so I do think there is risk here. But again, with this number so low, we're talking about one pass to John Paul Richardson, and he's over. And that's the only reason why this is intriguing to me. Otherwise, really, I think Prize Picks has done well this week in picking a lot of different props. And so I think this is one of the ones I'm like, all right, I could see this going over.
So I do not want to rain on your parade. I also am going to stand on the side of the street while you are on top of a float with John Paul Richardson written on the bottom of it. It's a stay away from me. And the number is so attractive, right? I just Chandler Morris out. We got a redshirt freshman, Josh Hoover, now under center. And I just don't trust it. It's a stay away. So, folks, follow the wisdom of the great Josh Chevalier on this one. I'm out. I'm going to fold on J.P. Richardson, at least for this one, man. All right, so talk to me and the people here. It's the Prop Show. Josh Chevalier, Rick Kamla. We're on Fantasy Points College Football. Chase Roberts, wide receiver for BYU against TCU in the same game here. A small number once again, 42.5 for Chase Roberts, Josh. Over or under?
Yeah. Before I speak on that, I'm just glad to have some good internet back, man. I don't know what that was earlier in the
Hallelujah.
show, but here we are. I actually have a conversation with Cam. This is one of my favorite things of the week. So sorry.
I know. It was Buzzkill 30 there for a minute. I'm so glad you're back, bro.
I know. I finally had to just cut it loose, though. I was like, man, I got to go. I got to turn off my computer and call it a day and try to get this back. So here we are. Chase Roberts, though, 42.5, right? I'm going over. He's gone over 80-plus yards in 3 games. He's had one game at 42 yards. And so he's almost hit this number in every game but one, which was against Arkansas, where he hit 12, right? And so, this to me feels like a floor for him. And TCU, this is a defense that has allowed 11 wide receivers this year, FBS wide receivers, to go over 42 yards. So this is a number that a lot of wide receivers have hit on TCU this year, including the famous Colorado game where they let several wide receivers go over this number. But I just think, Con Slovis has allowed that passing game to get a little bit of a boost, and Chase Roberts has been the main beneficiary. And I think they're going to have some success, at least enough success for Chase Roberts to hit this number at 42.5.
I'm with you. I'll just piggyback with, over the last 4 games, we've gone 42, we've gone 84, we've gone 12, we've gone 89. And he is, to me, it's not like, oh my God, he's so the number one receiver, but he is the number one receiver. He's +6 grabs over number 2. He's plus 136 yards over number 2. So I like it. I would go here with Chase Roberts, 42.5 as BYU takes on the TCU Horned Frogs. Now, Xavier Weaver of Colorado is in our sights. It is a home game, Friday night, late night, in Colorado, and they're hosting Stanford, who's dreadful against the pass, but the number, 87.5. And Josh, I got to go under here. Deion Sanders is going Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, and to a degree, Lincoln Riley with his wide receivers. What I mean by that for the audience members is it's very equal opportunity. We're moving guys in, we're moving guys out, and they spread the wealth, and they'll look at the box score, and 8, 9, 10 guys will be catching balls, and that doesn't help us, right? We like like Washington, okay? They funnel it all through Jalen McMillan, through Rome Adunze, and through Jalen Polk. All right, and Westover eats a little bit their tight end. They don't really have a fourth wide receiver that eats. Okay, it's focused and funneled to their main dudes. That's what we're talking about. I feel like Deion, and I'm not mad at Deion, Josh. I want to make that clear. But we got to analyze what he's doing with his team here. And it's a new guy every week. Last week, Javon Antonio pops. Who the hell is Javon Antonio? Okay, 581 and a touchdown. Caught the only touchdown from Sanders in that game, that close victory at Arizona State. We had, what was the guy's name? Omarion Miller, right? Had that pop game. Yeah. I even forget who. I think that was the USC game. All right. And then I think he had one grab last week. So it's really a revolving door, and it's a mess. And so I look, 87.5. To me, Josh, that's not a no. That's a hell no.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, this is a number, right, that's really, really high, and I'm shocked that they even put it out there. I thought they were going to avoid Colorado wide receivers this week because, it seems like Travis Hunter's coming back too. I mean, all those reports of him, the videos, and it seems like Deion's been hyping him up to be coming back and saying he's extremely likely to play, essentially. And so you throw Travis Hunter in the mix, and that just throws even more uncertainty here. And, I mean, it's not like Xavier Weaver's fallen off a cliff over the last few weeks. And so, and just trended in the wrong direction. So, this is one that I'm just going to say, yeah, pretty confidently we're going to go under. And if he hits, but that just happens. But this is all trending in the right direction for an under.
17 yards last week. And is he going to pop up? Is he going to have more than 17 this week? Yep. I bet a lot of money on that. But will he get to 87.5, 80, 89, 100? I don't see it. And neither does Josh. So, Josh, let's talk about a couple of the big games here. We got Oregon at Washington. And let me just pull up my sheet here. Washington is laying 3. 54% of the action's coming in on Oregon, though. So it's a coin flippy kind of thing. We got a field goal. We don't have the action tilted really towards one side very much. So where are you at with this one, man? Do you like the Huskies, or do you like the Ducks to stay undefeated and continue their quest for a national championship?
Yeah, I mean, I think in this type of game where the offenses are pretty comparable, you got to go with the team that's got the better defense. And so for me, that's Oregon. right? I think they've kind of proven it this year. I mean, what they did to Shador, Sanders, and that passing attack was really impressive. And I think I think they have more ways to win on offense too, right? Like they have a good passing game, like Bo Nix can do that, but then they got Bucky Irving on the ground that can also do it that way, and Jordan James. And so I just think they have so many outs. I think everything's trending in the right direction for Oregon. And while I think Washington is a very talented offense, I just don't trust their defense, even though they've been tough. I think so far, I think they've done well, but this is going to be by far their best test of the year, and so I'm going to trust Oregon on this one.
I like your vibes. This is not one of my releases this week, and I've got it. Josh, I start with a long list and then I pare it down and do some soul searching and pare it down to a short list, right? Oregon, Washington is on my long list. Ultimately, it's not a release for me this week because it's a coin flip. It's a coin flip game. We're not looking for coin flips, when we're giving you against the spread releases. We're looking for advantages. We're looking for wiggle room. And I just don't see a lot. Oregon might win. Washington might win. I don't have a strong feeling either way. Josh made a very compelling argument for Oregon, and I can see that. I also, based on that thinking, kind of like the fact that Oregon lost at home to this team last year, and now they're going to Washington. Maybe they balance it out, the law of averages, all that kind of stuff. So it's a stay away from me. I got a little bit of a home Washington vibe, but I like your take on Oregon having the better defense better. I think that's a stronger deal right here. So all right, I'll rock with you on that, Josh. And then we've got USC and Notre Dame. This is a release of mine over on Fantasy Points, the website, and obviously I'm going to do a video tomorrow, and it'll be up and available for you guys. But USC here is at Notre Dame. We've talked about some props on this game. USC is getting 2.5. And Josh, I'm going to take the 2.5 here because of the quarterback matchup. And I was saying when you were having some difficulties, I've been overrating Notre Dame. Okay. I'm guilty. I've been overrating Sam Hartman. I've been overrating their defense. Pardon me. I've been overrating Notre Dame. Well, not anymore. Okay. And now you've got USC coming in there. So now you got to match strikes with them. And we've got Caleb Williams versus Sam Hartman. We've got like literally the combination of Randall Cunningham and Patrick Mahomes versus Sam Hartman, who is following in Tony Romo's footsteps as a complete choke artist. Okay. That game against Louisville last week was a horror show. It was a horror show. And he didn't play well against Duke. And he didn't play well the week before against Ohio State. We're going the wrong way here, man. And now Sam Hartman's going to have to match blow for blow with the great Caleb Williams? Nah, I don't see it. I do see some points in this game, Josh, okay? USC's defense sucks. And we know that it's going to be like a fast break, high-scoring kind of game. But I see them covering here. I think they're going to South Bend with victory in mind. And I think they're going to leave South Bend with that victory. How about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think USC, I think this is the type of game where Caleb Williams, like this is a Heisman type game for him, right? Like if he does well on this stage against this defense, this is the type of like this is where he makes his money. This is where he gets his second Heisman back to back, right? That hasn't been done since Archie Griffin. So I think there's a lot riding on this game, and this is by far the toughest opponent they've played to this point. And so Caleb Williams shows up and like he's just not gonna let them lose this game, right? And I think when you have a 2.5 point spread, I mean you're talking about really nothing, but I'm just taking them money line, right? Like they're gonna win this game. I'm pretty confident of that. I'm not really sure what Vegas is doing, but Vegas is usually really smart. So I don't want to get too cocky here, but I do feel like USC is going to figure out a way to win this game.
It's so funny because in writing these articles, you want to be inflammatory about it, right? Yeah, this is going to be the biggest blowout. Every time you write something like that, you lose that bet. It's just how it goes. It's like the betting gods are like, no. There's nothing easy in this game. Nothing's coming easy for you, man. You got to earn it all. So Josh, we've reached the end of the line here. So tell the people about our awesome platform, all the stuff that's going on here with Fantasy Points, college football. Tell the people what's up.
If we didn't hit the end of this line, my internet's gonna hit it for us. So I'll be quick. Man, we have the top projections right now in the game, and I'm just super proud of Zach Hall and what he's done there. I think all the content that we're creating here, I'm just really proud of what we're doing. And so even more than just talking about all the stuff we got, just say, hey, we've got a lot of really talented people that we're working with, and we got a great community. And come join us, man. Like it's a lot of fun getting to do what we get to do with each other, even when the internet is not holding up its end of the bargain.
Well, Josh Udeman, thanks for persevering, my brother. Always a blast to be on the air with you here. And for Josh, for Tom Tipple, I'm Rick Kamla. This has been the Prop Show. Enjoy Week 7. Go make some money, and we'll see you next week right here on Fantasy Points.